guys, and welcome back to Podcast 129. My name is Hunter Waldrop, and to my left is Mr. Jake Stenchcombe himself. We are here to talk second round college football playoff with you guys. Brief recap of the first round games, talk about what we got because we got a packed slate the next 2 days. We're recording this on December the 30th. So tomorrow night, Ohio State, Miami in the Cotton Bowl, legendary national championship rematch from like 2002, and then 3 games on New Year's Day to wrap up the second round before we hit to the semifinals. But before we get into that, Jake, how we doing today, brother?
Good, man. I'm excited to dive into this next round of games. I feel like we are due for a great 4 games. Perfect time for it. I think these are the best 8 teams in the country. We'll get into that a little bit later. Very excited. Went to the Falcons game last night, and what a win. The Falcons are back because we are eliminated from playoff contention. That's a top. What I experienced last night was one of the probably top 3 memory in Mercedes-Benz. The first being when Ohio State missed the field goal at midnight. And it was the most meaningless football game ever, but it rocked. Just seeing how good they played. But anyways, glad to be here, man. Excited to dive into it.
Absolutely, man. Well, enough with all that. Let's hop right on into it. So this is what we are looking at right now. As Jake said, we're down to 8 from 12 last week, or I guess it's been a little over a week now. Oklahoma loses to Alabama, and that was just pure heartbreak for me. But, it is what it is, and now we have Indiana taking on Alabama. Oregon and Ole Miss take care of their G5 opponents, and then an absolute snooze fest, but kept you on the edge of your seat because you just knew next score wins. Miami, Texas A&M, disappointing season, or not a disappointing season, I should say. They did go 11-1 in the regular season and hosted a playoff game. That's awesome. That's a great season for Texas A&M, but disappointing last month of the season, I should say. You played literally the back 7 of the entire SEC, took care of business. You finally played a team that was towards the top. They weren't even at the top. Texas, they were not even at the top. They were like middle top, and you kind of got BTA, especially in that second half. Then you host a home playoff game against a very good team in Miami, and you lose. So definitely some question marks raised. I know there's a lot of Marcel Reed talk going on there. I know Colin Klein was pretty much checked out. He was on the first flight out to Manhattan, Kansas as soon as that game was over. But there's a lot of talk around that game. Is there anything in particular that stood out to you around those 4? I know you probably got a lot to say on the Miami A&M game, but I don't know how much of that's going to go into your actual preview. But any thoughts you have on the 8 teams we got now and kind of how we got here from a few weeks ago?
Yeah, kind of like I said a minute ago. I mean, I don't think you could have drew it up any other better way than what we have now with these last 8 teams. We got to see Oklahoma and Alabama. Alabama comes out on top. We got to see Texas A&M and Miami. Miami comes out on top. The only other team I think that you could say, well, they deserve to be in the top 8 is Notre Dame, but that's why we play the games. Miami beat them early on in the season. I think this is the perfect 8. And we talked about this in the first round preview, how it should be 6 to 8 teams. And this is perfect. So I guess it's good that we got to see 2 good football games in Oklahoma, Bama and Miami, Texas A&M. Those games produced, but we got to get the G5 teams out of there. I know we keep talking about that. Other than that, they were the great games as far as the Oklahoma and Miami thing. The Miami thing in Texas A&M, that game was so interesting because you could tell the weather was affecting the game. It was a no-brainer. You could see it when they threw the ball downfield. You could see it when they were kicking the football, special teams, all sorts of things. And that was just an epic game if you love defense. And in that environment too, Texas A&M and that stadium was full. So that was a good one. Other than that, Oklahoma, that was just the most Alabama football thing ever. Nick Saban is gone. We thought we were going to be done with Alabama. They're about to die. And then Oklahoma is about to just put the sword in their heart, up 17-0. And then here comes Alabama. Here comes the Tide. And now they got all the momentum rolling going into this Indiana game. So But yeah, good matchups here. I'm excited for it.
I'm still in over my head when it comes to Oklahoma, man. Dude, up 17-0 in they couldn't score 17 points like the rest
Yeah.
of the year. Like, I mean, they were firing Mateer. Gosh, you guys know how I feel about him. He had my blood just pumping, dude. I was so hyped. He was slinging the rock. The game changed when Xavier Robinson dropped the wide open touchdown pass.
Yeah.
Mateer, he was finally making plays that we saw like early in the year against Michigan, and gets out of a sack, rolls and throws a dime on the run, hits the receiver in the hands, he drops it. Next play, the punter, I don't know what that guy was doing, just drops the ball, just lost control of it, and then game was obviously the pick six. That was horrific. I've seen a few people break it down where it's like, well, yeah, it's easy to blame the quarterback, but when you've seen Alabama and you've done your tape study and what you've seen through the first quarter and half of the game, you would have never expected that to be in that spot. So it's a lot easy. It's easy for us to come on here and like point fingers at these guys on the field. My heart breaks, but just ready to place that 2026 Mateer for Heisman slip. So
yeah, one thing I want to say to like kind of close the door on Oklahoma. I'm sorry we have to do this, but Mateer, like I knew the name coming into the season, and then obviously you educated me on the name throughout the season, a majority in the early half, and in our SEC preview. And I have grown to really like this guy, I like this team. And going into 2026, I think all of the mental aspects of his game are there. The mobile ability is there for him to win a Heisman. I mean, and for him to elevate Oklahoma and be a national championship contender. I just think he's got such a bright future going into 2026 because he's able to make those X factor plays. He's able to change the game with one throw. But there's so much room for improvement in the offseason just as a pure passer. A lot of times he's throwing off his back foot. He's not very – I mean, a lot of times he's running for his life. I just think there's so much brightness like right now and so much room for growth in the offseason. And if he's developed the right way for the next 9 or 10 months, John Mateer is going to be an issue in the SEC next year. So
that made me feel great. I appreciate that. Also, it's going to be year 3 or 4 with the same OC, Ben Arbuckle. Another year, his second year at Oklahoma. So I think it's a big deal. And he's not going anywhere. His girlfriend just transferred to Tulsa. So, I'm always on the Twitters finding stuff like that out. I was a little nervous. I was like, dude, is he going to like try his luck or like, go to the NFL? Nah, he's staying. So going to be an exciting team to watch, but we're not here to talk about Oklahoma. We always talk about Oklahoma football on here. We're here to talk about the Cotton Bowl. New Year's Eve. I don't know what time this kick is, Jake. It's say about 8 o'clock or so. If I had to guess, 7:30. 7:30 is what it says. 7:30, Dallas, Texas. Second straight year, Ohio State. Actually, this is like the third time in 4 years they've played in the Cotton Bowl. They're getting kind of used to this. Some people call it Ohio South down there in Jerry's world. Taking on the Hurricanes, who come off a big win, having to go back to the state of Texas again, beating Texas A&M about a week and a half ago in College Station, and just an absolute, like we talked about earlier, it was kind of a crapshoot, but at the same time, it kept you on the edge of your seat the whole game. And I gotta give a lot of praise to Miami and true freshman Malachi Tony, because right when you thought, oh, that was the turnover A&M needed, right there in midfield, all they're going to have to do is they're going to finally break through. Like Casey Concepcion's been knocking at the door all day. Malachi Tony fumbles. Miami's defense gets another stop. And then who scores the game-winning touchdown? None other than 18-year-old Malachi Tony. And I think that goes to show the leadership that this team has, not just on defense, as we know with Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor, but also on the offensive side with veteran running back Mark Fletcher, veteran quarterback Carson Beck. And you can have your thoughts and opinions on Carson Beck as an actual football player and some of the decisions he makes outside of football, financially and all that. But however, you cannot deny that he has been a leader for this team this year. So I'm interested to see how this veteran-led team for Miami, how can they keep their heads up as we go throughout this game? Because they're going to face adversity in this game, whereas the defense faced zero to very little adversity against Texas A&M. They just did their thing. Ruben Bain made sure to say, I'm the best guy on the field, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's not going to be the best guy on the field. I have a hard time believing that when you're facing an offense that has Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and just NFL weapons all around you. So how is this team going to prevail through adversity? That's probably my biggest question mark when it comes to Miami, especially on the defense side of the ball. And on the offense side of the ball, we've been talking about it all year. This Ohio State defense is legit. I know that their schedule, not necessarily the strongest and strength of schedule and hardest. However, what they have done to these teams is just suffocate them to death. Sometimes they'll score, 40. Sometimes they're like, we just feel like scoring 27. We got our defense today. So how is this Ohio State offense going to attack a good defense in Miami? And how is this Ohio State defense going to is Ohio State going to lean on their defense to just suffocate Miami? Or they're going to be like, all right, Carson Beck, you got to beat us with your arm. You're going to have to beat us with your arm, and we're not going to let 10 do it. You have to find somebody else to do it. And there's a very good chance that could happen, and this game could get out of hand, but the scoreboard might not say it's out of hand. Like, this game could be 21-6 final score, but you knew from start to finish that it was BTA. So those are a few things I'm looking at going into it. Jake, how about yourself?
Yeah, two things that I really kind of keyed in on for this game. The first one being Miami's edge players, that front seven versus Ohio State's offensive line. Same thing was when we were talking about the Miami Texas A&M game. That's what I thought it came down to, and it did for Texas A&M and Miami, like offensively versus defensively, whatever. Past two times we've seen Ohio State, Julian Sayin against Michigan, did not get sacked once and played pretty solid. When he's got time in the pocket, he can really tear you apart with the guys they have on the edge. And then we saw him against Indiana in the Big Ten Championship. Indiana forced 5 sacks, and they only scored 10 points. And that's a big key here, I think, that it comes down to for Miami. Can those edge players get home to Julian Sayin and make him uncomfortable and not give him all the time in the world? And with this offense and the way it's designed, like even last year with Will Howard, it was the same exact thing. When he had time, this team can kill you downfield at any given moment, explosive plays after explosive play. We saw it last year in Ohio State's 4 or 5 game run in the playoffs. So I think that's the biggest key for me is what can Miami get home defensively to the quarterback, and can Ohio State's offensive line hold up for 4 quarters and give Sayin time when he is in a position to throw? Because if they say Miami forces a turnover and gets a short field and goes up 7-0, and at any point Ohio State gets down, they're going to have to throw the ball. That's going to be very interesting to look at, is Miami's pass rush against that Ohio State offensive line. And then the second thing, on the other side of the matchup, Ohio State's defense versus Miami's offense. The Miami Texas A&M game, I kind of look at it with an asterisk next to it, just because of the weather. I really think that was a huge impact. I'm not saying it cost Texas A&M the game. I'm not saying it helped Miami win the game. I'm just saying you could tell it made a big impact. But one thing Miami was able to do was run the football with Mark Fletcher. And yes, I have been a Carson Beck believer all year. I'm just a big believer in him. Do I think that he is elite and can really just take over a game and win it for you? I'm not there yet. I haven't really seen that out of him. But I think he's a great field general, if you will. And so I think if they can generate the ground attack like they did against Texas A&M, maybe not to that extent, but if they can consistently run the football with Mark Fletcher, Gerard Pringle's one of their backs. They got another one. I can't think of his name. And off of that, create plays for Carson in the play action and the screen game to get the ball out to his playmakers like Tony and Daniels. That's going to be their recipe to kind of hanging in this game, if not winning it. Just because the Ohio State's defense is the best in the country. They can smother you. And if it gets to the point early on, like let's say Ohio State jumps out to a 10-0 lead, I'm not going to feel very good about Miami's chances, because putting Carson back in a position where he has to throw and not be able to lean on that run game. We've seen that in games where they've been down, like against SMU and who was their other loss? I can't think of it right now. It's just not a good recipe for them offensively. So that's what I kind of got on this one. I think me and you both agree that it's going to be a lower scoring one. And as far as the score goes and a winner, I'm not ready. I'm not going to sit here and say Miami's going to win the game. I do think they cover. I think it's a very low scoring game. I'm going Ohio State 17-13.
Wow, that is really low scoring. Yeah, I'm not too far behind you there. On paper and what I've been hearing through, not hearing, but reading on Twitter and message boards and hearing some of these talking heads on the YouTube and the internet, they're saying, well, when you look at it, Miami's defensive line, that's an advantage. Miami's offensive line, that's an advantage. Man, if they could just really lock down Ohio State, they should be able to win the game in a low scoring bout, which is very much a possibility here. However, I just think Ohio State's got too much talent. I think I'm going to just have to back Ryan Day in this spot. I faded Mario Cristobal in the first round. I took the coaching advantage, and, I probably didn't take into account enough that Colin Klein was 1 foot out the door, and, Miami's playing wounded animal mode, and they still could be in wounded animal mode. I think Miami can win this football game. However, I'm just going to have to see it to believe it. I'm going to take the Buckeyes 24-13. So I got a slight cover for Ohio State. Not confident in it. Definitely not going to lay or take a number. If anything, I'd probably lean more Miami to cover, but the way I had the score written down and some of the other things, I got Ohio State. Not confident in it, but I am confident it's going to be low scoring because either Miami is going to just be in a dogfight with them for 4 quarters, or Ohio State, like you said, Jake, I mean, all they're going to need is to go up 10, 13 points, and then they're just going to chew out the clock and play on that defense, and they're just going to make Beck beat him with his arm, and I just don't know if he can do that. So I'm rolling with the Buckeyes here.
I like it.
I do want to go back and say one thing. If I remember correctly, the last time we recorded, you did say, I don't care who wins between A&M and Miami, they're going to beat Ohio State. You think I forgot about that?
That statement still stands. I'm just going to throw it out.
Well, so are you taking Miami?
I'm not. I'm going to stick with Ohio State. But I'm just saying, the statement still stands. Mm-hmm. It will get clipped and that clip will resurface if Miami were to win this football game. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Also, one more thing before we move on to the Orange Bowl, I believe it is.
If Miami does win, I'm going to be an issue. I'm going to be a problem to a lot of people. That's all I'll say.
I know. Could you imagine Kirby Smart versus Carson Beck in the semifinal?
I need it. That would be awesome.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yes. I would love that. So just the potential to keep your head on a swivel for. Moving on, number 4, Texas Tech coming off a bye, going down to Miami, Florida, take on the 5th-ranked Ducks of Oregon after their win against JMU last week. Oregon's laying 2.5, and Texas Tech opened as a 1.5-point favorite. And so now what I'm trying to figure out here, Jake, is Vegas just letting people eat up this Oregon number and they believe in the Red Raiders to win, or they were just putting a number out there and now they're just going to let Oregon run with this number all the way until it closes? I can't. And usually when that happens, it means BTA coming in hot for the Ducks. So I don't know what I make of this game at all, because it's like, I'll just start with the Oregon side, because this is my biggest question. Do you value the bye, or do you value the fact that your team's been there before? That is like my whole premise for some of these games. Like if we go back to this game right here, if you're watching on YouTube, Ohio State, Miami, like Ohio State's been there before multiple times, especially last year. I mean, they won the whole dang thing last year, but Ryan Day knows how to prepare his team in moments like this. Miami's never been here before. And so then that brings us back here. Dan Lanning has been here before. He was the number 1 seed last year, got a bye, and then got absolutely buzzsawed by Ohio State in the first round in the Rose Bowl last year. You flip to the other side, Texas Tech. They've never been here before. Joe McGuire, don't get me wrong, like I think he's a good coach, but like he's not. I don't know if I'd necessarily rank him in the top 15, top 20 head coaches in college football right now. He's good, but he's nothing to, look twice at. Like, you didn't see his name coming about in the Michigan search or the Alabama search or anything like that, or the Penn State search, whatever the school might have been. So I go into it saying, well, Dan Lanning's been there before. They know how it feels to have a bye and to get ran out the building. And I know that man still has that taste in his mouth. And so that kind of gives me an edge. Do you have any thoughts on like bye versus been there before, or bye versus playing a game? Because last year we saw, sorry, I'll finish this point real fast. Last year we saw all 4 teams of the bye get beat.
Yeah.
Now, granted, 2 of those teams being Boise State and Arizona State. Make of that what you will. Georgia with a backup quarterback, but Oregon getting beat by Ohio State still. I mean, especially in the fashion that they did. It's like, I was just curious, where do you stand on that? If you stand on a side of that argument, so to say?
I don't necessarily think I stand on a side of that. Like, because, for instance, right here, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm taking Oregon pretty confidently. But then I'm going to take Georgia against Ole Miss, who's coming off 4-week bye, and Ole Miss just played 2 weeks ago. I think it just depends on the circumstances and who you're looking at. And then in this matchup specifically, it smells BTA, sniffs out BTA to me for Oregon. I think there's a coaching advantage. They got the momentum rolling with that first-round win against JMU. They're a very hot team that a lot of people are talking about, a lot of people picking to win the national championship. Texas Tech has been great all year, don't get me wrong, but we haven't seen them play anybody outside of the Big 12 with a pulse. And I'm not trying to take away from the Big 12, but I think Oregon's more complete. I think there's not a huge gap in the coaching advantage, but like you said, Dan Lanning's been here. This team's been here. And I'm going to trust that he's got his guys ready to go. And just 4 weeks off for a Texas Tech team we haven't seen in the college football playoff ever. I don't really feel comfortable sitting here and saying that Texas Tech's going to be able to keep it close. But I will say with Rodriguez on defense for Texas Tech and the other guy, I forgot his name. They got another big – I mean, they got several good – their defense is stout. If they're able to make
David Bailey?
Yes. If they're able to get Dante Moore uncomfortable early and prevent – because I think Oregon comes out hot. I think they come out striking downfield quickly and try to get up. If they're able to keep this thing close at half, then I'll have a good feeling about Texas Tech. But I really think that Oregon comes out striking, and they're up probably 17 points at half. I really believe that. I think just the coaching advantage, more complete, better quarterback. Dan Lanning's been here before, but who knows?
See, dude, I cannot make up my mind on this game because I feel like everybody I've heard is picking Oregon. And then I listened to Unnecessary Roughness today yesterday, whatever it was. And the only one to pick Oregon out of the 4 of them was Liam Blutman. So, that's the ultimate ball knower, as we know. But I've seen a lot of people just picking Oregon, like globally or nationally, whatever you want to call it. And that usually gives me a little bit of a red flag when it comes to 2.5 point spread. I love taking dogs at 2.5 because I do think this Texas Tech defense is so good, but their offense, yes, it can be flashy and they can hit you with explosive plays. They're very good explosive plays. But when that field gets narrowed down to the red zone, they struggle a lot at finishing drives. And so I think that's probably the difference here is that I'm going to take the team that I know can score and can finish drives and run the football versus the team that I'm not so confident can finish drives in the red zone when that field gets narrowed down. I'm not going to let my eyes be dismantled by JMU's little backdoor cover and scoring a few late garbage time touchdowns because I think they said Oregon had like 28 people play defense that game, 28 different people. Like, that's a lot. I mean, you're getting your freshmen in on that. So I'm going to take the coach that still has the sour taste in his mouth that's been there before. But I don't think they come out firing. I think they might try to. But I think this game's at noon.
Yeah.
That's a 9 a.m. local kick. And we've seen, and I mean, Oregon did play. Chicago, that's Central Time. So they played a 2-hour time difference, and then they played Penn State, but that was a night game, whatever. They haven't had to play. They didn't have to go play big noon kickoff in the Eastern time zone like Washington did or USC did this year. And I think it's going to, play a little bit of effect here, especially in the first half. And I'll get to that in my lockbox here in a little bit. But I think their defense is going to travel. I'm set on that. But I am going to take Oregon to win 27-24.
Yeah, and one thing you bring up with you think Oregon's defense is going to travel in big games this year with Texas Tech, and we know personally, me and you, their red zone offense is atrocious. They can't score in the red zone. And I don't think that Texas Tech's offense, I don't think they can afford to get in a shootout with Oregon. I think they lose in a shootout. I think Texas Tech's path to beating Oregon is a low-scoring affair, me personally. So when you combine their struggles in the red zone and with the fact that Oregon's going to put up points, I just don't think it's a good recipe. And like you said, everybody's picking Oregon, and it feels so obvious, and it's very sketchy though because everybody's picking them. I just think it's like, don't overthink it. Like, just don't overthink it, Hunter. Let's just close your eyes. It's Dan Lanning. He's so close. He's the next guy. We've seen Kirby get over the hump. We've seen Ryan Day get over the hump. Jim Harbaugh got over the hump. Like, Dan Lanning is the next guy. I'm not overthinking it. I think we're just overthinking it a little bit. It's the Ducks.
I'm not going to overthink it. Like, I overthought it last night.
All of a sudden, I'm very confident in this. I don't know why. And originally, I think I picked Texas Tech. Maybe I don't remember if I picked Texas Tech in my bracket. But when I first saw the line, I was like Texas Tech. And it's been in the past week. It's just kind of it's gonna be Oregon. So we'll see.
You did pick Texas Tech. I've got it pulled up here. Yeah, no, I overthought it last night. I was like, oh, it's going to be Drake London. No, it was Bijan Robinson. It was always Bijan 2+. I overthought that, of course. So I'm not going to overthink this one. It's going to be Oregon. And I'm not very confident in it, but I do have a play on it when we get to our lockbox. Whoa, this one is a polarizing matchup. Alabama, Indiana, Rose Bowl, 4:00 Eastern. On Saturday, or not on Saturday, on New Year's Day. Dude, the amount of old heads, and I hate to refer to people like that because I try to respect my elders, but there is a good, decent amount of old heads, and then the old heads' offspring who do not know ball, who like to say, dude, there's not a chance in heck Indiana can play with Alabama. Alabama's going to win, and I think they'll cover that 7.5. Give me the reverse spread on that. I like Bama. I'm just like, dude, take away the logos. Look at what the two teams have been this year. And if you take that scripted A and you flipped it and that IU and flipped it to reverse the teams, you would, then yes, obviously, but that you break this game down, Indiana should win, and they should win by a touchdown to 17 points, barring a turnover in there or something, giving them better field position. I like the Hoosiers in this game, man. And the big reason why is because everybody just sees that Crimson A, and they are all over it. And I think if there's a guy that can get his team ready and make them feel outside of Kirby Smart and make them feel like they have not accomplished jack nothing, it's the same guy that didn't crack a smile until he was forced to on the Big Ten championship stage, Curt Cignetti. I'll take Heisman Mendoza. I think it's just a bad matchup for Alabama too, because I think Indiana knows they cannot run the football. We're going to drop 9, and they're not going to beat us. And then we'll chew out the clock. We'll get a turnover, and that's just going to be that. I really like Fernando Mendoza in this game. I think he's going to pick apart Kane Womack's defense. I think with Surratt getting healthy, Omar Cooper Jr. is going to be back for this game. I know he got banged up in the Big Ten championship. You got the running back tandem. You got Roman Hemby back there. I just like it a lot. I love the DC for Indiana. His name is slipping my mind, but I think he's going to end up winning the Broyles Award this year. I don't know, man. More than anything else, I've heard way too many people giving Alabama credit for something that they haven't really done this year. And like being a team that they haven't been this year, like, yes, don't get me wrong, they went on the road and beat Georgia, but that's not the same Alabama team that's coming into this game.
Yeah.
So with all that said, I'm taking the Hoosiers in this game, and I got them covering 31-23. I do think Bama's going to be able to score a little bit, but when it comes down to it, I do like Cignetti and this team to get to the semifinals.
Yeah, we're on the same page here. And at first, I thought Bama. I thought Bama's going to win this game. It's the most Alabama thing ever. But it's like you said, take away the logos, look at it on paper. Indiana's just more complete. I think they have a coaching advantage. I think they have a quarterback advantage. I like Hemby at running back better than Jam Miller. I like Cooper and Surratt on the outside better than Ryan Williams and Bernard. I really do. I think they're more explosive and able to make big-time plays. I just think Indiana's more complete, like I said, and it's another one where just don't overthink it. Indiana's the better team all around, and there's way, way too many question marks with Alabama not being able to run the football. And we've seen Kalen DeBoer in these big-time games come up short and not have his team prepared, and I think that's what happened here. What happens here? I have Indiana 31-17 in this.
Yeah, I mean, it just really comes down to, for me, that I need this. I don't know if this Bama team can do the 4 in a row. And I don't know. Like you said, Jake, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Coaching advantage. And I just think people are not – they look at the logos and they say, yeah, no way. No way. So don't get me wrong. Like, I do think Alabama has played – they played in the SEC. I think Indiana's more healthy, which also plays a factor into this. Indiana's been here before. Okay, they've been in the playoff before. I think that's an advantage, and you just take away the logos. I'm taking the Hoosiers, and they might. There's a chance. I am obviously not predicting this to happen because I got an 8-point differential here, but I think Indiana could run Alabama out of the building. There's a real scenario where that happens. And lastly, the number 2 seeded Georgia Bulldogs going back to New Orleans for the second year in a row. It's almost like they have permanent residence in New Orleans. Nobody was shocked that they picked the Sugar Bowl, obviously with the SEC ties, taking on the 6th-ranked Ole Miss Rebels led by Pete Golding, not Lane Kiffin, even though Lane Kiffin gets paid money for LSU every single time Ole Miss wins a playoff game. That's a very interesting relationship right there, if you ask me. However, Jake, I kind of rambled on the past 2. I'm going to let you kind of hone in on this one, especially with it revolving around Georgia. I know you're a lot more tapped in there. So tell me your thoughts externally, what you're seeing, what you think the keys to the game are going to be, and ultimately give me a score prediction.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is the coaching gap here. Kirby has been in his bag as of late. And with all the drama that we've seen with Ole Miss around Lane Kiffin and people leaving and coaches and payments and all sorts of things, I just think this is another one not to overthink. I think Georgia is playing their best football as of late, especially, I mean, you saw it against Alabama. It was the last time we saw them. And I think 4 weeks off for Kirby to get his guys back healthy and prepared for this one is huge. And Ole Miss also didn't have to play a first-round scary opponent. They ran through Tulane, looked very good. And it would be a cool story if Ole Miss. Like, if there was one team that won outright, Ole Miss would be the coolest one, like, for them to beat Georgia right a month after Lane Kiffin leaving. But I think there's just a huge coaching advantage. I think Georgia's the more complete team. I don't think Ole Miss's defense is going to be able to slow down Georgia. I think Georgia, the key is, I mean, I talk about it every big-time Georgia football game. Run the football. You have backs. You've got a good offensive line. I know Drew Bobo is out, but still, you should be able to run the football against this team. I do think Ole Miss is able to score a little bit. Georgia has, especially in big-time games, has always kind of struggled a little bit with mobile quarterbacks, and I think Chambliss is fantastic. I think he's great. I'm excited to see where he goes or if he stays next year. He'll probably be in Baton Rouge. But I got 38-28 dogs. I think Georgia gets up. Ole Miss cuts that lead down in the fourth quarter. But I think Georgia rolls here.
Jake, it's interesting that you brought up Trinidad Chambliss potentially going to LSU. Well, did you not know that DJ Lagway and Sam Levitt and Dylan Raiola and whoever else enters their name into the transfer portal as a quarterback? Oh, LSU. Lane's he's gonna have a 6 quarterback roster next year. He's gonna line them. He's gonna line them all out. No, I find that funny, but I do actually think if I had to predict right now, I do think Trinidad Chambliss will be the quarterback for the LSU Tigers next year, and Austin Simmons will stay at Ole Miss and kind of retake that program. And I think that'd actually be a really good fit for him. And I do want to see Austin Simmons because that guy is so talented. I want to see him be able to excel. But enough about the Ole Miss quarterback room for 2026. As far as this game goes, Jake, you kind of hit the nail on the head. But my biggest thing that sticks out to me is that in the fourth quarter of the first time these two teams played, it was made very evident that Georgia just figured something out. They got Trinidad rambled. And then the offense, I mean, they hummed. They didn't punt the entire game. They scored on every single possession. And Ole Miss scored on their first 5 possessions. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that again. I think and you're giving Kirby more time to prepare. And when you hear the guy say, yeah, it's the same team, I don't care if Lane's there or not. Like, dude, Charlie Weiss is good. Like, dude, this guy's locked in. The guy's locked in. And I think the defense is going to prevail. They're getting more healthy, too. Like, I looked at the availability report. I think it was I know Aguero's out, and then I think it was Gabe Harris. Is he the one that's been dealing with the turf toe? Yeah, that one sucks. But that's like really the only big one on the defense. And as we've seen throughout this year, the Georgia team, they played a lot of guys this year that have gotten significant snaps at significant moments for this team. And they're a young team, but they're not young anymore. They were young back in August and September, and heck, even October. They were a young team. They ain't young anymore. The evolution of this defense throughout the year, it just really needs to be studied. They finally have decided, all right, we're going to get home on the passer. Nobody's really been able to run the ball efficiently for 4 quarters against them this year. So pretty much my thing is limit explosive plays and limit Trinidad Chambliss's legs. And I don't care if your offense scores 21 points. That should get it done for you because I don't think there's going to be a lot of thinking and dunking and just running the ball that's going to get Ole Miss to win in this game. On top of that, I don't think Ole Miss's defense is that good. If you go back and watch the Tulane game, dude, Tulane was driving the ball on Ole Miss. They just didn't finish drives. They either turned it over or they stalled. But I think all of their drives, except for one, actually ended up on the other side of the 50. And I'll take Georgia's offense over the Tulane offense. Obviously, no questions there. But I just don't think this game profiles too well for the Rebels. But like you said, dude, like if there was one team to like go on a storybook run, it would be cool if it was Pete Golding and Trinidad Chambliss and all them. With that said, dude, I'm taking Kirby in this spot. I'm taking the team that, once again, first round bye, bad taste in their mouth. Been there, done that. They know what to do. I'm going to take the Dogs to win the game. I got them 34-26, a little bit different than you. I do think they're going to score about 4 touchdowns, and that'll be that. And I do think Ole Miss is going to score too. I think Georgia more times than not struggles with mobile QBs. And as we know, Trinidad's not just going to sit in the pocket. He is going to utilize those legs. So that's what I got on this one. Dogs win and cover. But I do want to say this before we move on to best bets. I could see all 4 underdogs winning this weekend.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if we had Alabama versus Texas Tech and Miami versus Ole Miss in the Final Four. It would be weird. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it'd be really weird.
It'd be very weird, but
there's a path for every team.
100%. So we just picked the 4 same teams and we picked all 4 of them to cover. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you picked Miami to cover. I'll run through the lock box real fast. Miami, Ohio State under 41.5, my favorite play, because I don't think it matters which team wins, especially if Miami wins. It's going to be an under game. But I don't care which team wins because I think Ohio State's going to lean on that defense. I don't think it's going to be the buzzsaw offensive-centric team that we saw last year in the playoffs. So give me under 41.5. Got a little two-leg parlay. Shout out to our boy Nick Pachia, who will be on here. Just you got to give him time. When college hoops is in full swing, Nick Pachia will make his presence known on here. But I'll take IU and UGA on the money line, just both to win, -101. Great value there. Also, Nick Pachia and I have schemed this one up behind the scenes. It's a little teaser. Give me Ohio State -2.5. Teased with under 48.5, -130. And then I kind of hinted at this when we were talking about the Orange Bowl earlier, but give me the Texas Tech Oregon first half under 26.5. And this plays a big factor for me as far as Oregon traveling coast to coast. And having to play a 9 a.m. local kick. And Texas Tech's defense is good. I'm not taking that away from them. And I think Oregon's going to come out a little bit slower. And I'm not really too worried about Texas Tech scoring touchdowns in the first half. So that's where I landed on there. And then everybody loves them some Jeremiah Smith, but I've gotten robbed on taking Jeremiah Smith too much this year. Carnell Tate, he's scoring against Miami. Book it, -110.
Good stuff, Hunt. I'm taking Indiana -7. Like we said, I'm not overthinking this. I think just more complete team, a lot of advantages, too many question marks for Bama. So give me the Hoosiers -7. I like the UGA team total over 30.5. I've seen it at both 30.5 and 31.5. I think Georgia's able to score points here. And like at the same time, I mean, I can see a world where they don't punt again in the entire game, same time as last time they played Ole Miss. Miami +10. I think this is a one-score game. Regardless of who wins, I think Miami's able to keep it close with their defense. And then I'm taking Oregon money line. Leave the points at the door. Don't overthink it. I think they win the football game. And then Miami and Ohio State under 41.5. Hunter's already got it as well. I think it's a low-scoring game, regardless of who wins, like Hunter said. So, and then for Tyler, he's got Georgia -6.5. He's taking Ohio State -9.5, contrary to me and Hunter. Oregon -2.5, Bama +7, and Gunnar Stockton anytime touchdown.
Yeah, I'm giving that drug up this weekend. I just can't do it, man. I mean, that's been the prop that I think is probably it's done us well, but when it hits, but gosh, when it doesn't, it sucks. So I'm leaving that one at the door this weekend. And our Pod 129 play of the week is none other than Mr. Fernando Heisman-Doza, over 1.5 passing touchdowns against Alabama, -135. Go ahead, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Triple option parlay. I'll go. My leg was Trinidad Chambliss, 28+ rushing yards. I don't think Ole Miss is going to find a lot of success with the standard handoffs to Kawan Lacey, and I think he's the best back in the SEC, one of them, if not the best. So I think, and Georgia typically struggles with quarterbacks that can move their legs a little bit. So I'm going to take Trinidad to get at least 30-ish rushing yards.
I like it. My leg is Nate Frazier to score an anytime touchdown. He's been running like a madman lately and has definitely been the number one back over the past few games we've seen Georgia. So I'm taking Nate Frazier to get in the end zone, and then Tyler's leg is Georgia money line. So you got a same game parlay +290. $10 brings home $29. So go ahead and take Ole Miss touchdown, Chauncey Bowen's touchdown, or Ole Miss money line, Chauncey Bowen's touchdown, and Kewan Lacey 100+ on the ground. That's probably the real play here.
Yeah, dude. I promise you, we did not all mean to pick the same game. Like I've had this on here for a few hours, and then Jake comes in. Well, he did Nate Frazier. Then Tyler's like, yeah, just give me the Georgia money line, make it a same game parlay. Yeah, I can't wait for this one to not hit. And that'll do it for us here. Thank you guys for listening as always. I'll let Jake close us out here. Thank you guys for listening. Remember the Jesus one. God first and God bless.
Thank you, Hunt. As always, we're on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, please subscribe. We appreciate that a lot. Thank you to Tyler for putting out these videos when he does. And there's been a few times where we haven't got them out, but we're busy, man. We do this for fun. We love just getting on here and talking with each other, talking ball and breaking down the games. And then also we're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So if you got a long drive for New Year's Eve or wherever you're traveling or you're got a long day at work, tune in on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We really appreciate it. Next time we talk to you, we will be talking Final Four, college football playoff semifinals. Can't wait. Hope everybody has a good new year. And that's Podcast 129.